The Pistons are the basketball champions of the world.
Detroit, it's time. It's playoff time, Detroit. Let's go to work.
Shout out Detroit. I got to buff up, you know what I'm saying? Detroit, I'm all the way in. Detroit Pistons, I'm all the way in. Let's do it.
What up, Dell Pistons fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Buffs On podcast. We are the best POD in the 313, and today we got 1, 2, 3, 4. The whole squad is here. We're back, and we're ready to talk some Pistons basketball. We are fresh off of a loss to the Zach LaVine Bulls, and it just seemed like another game against the Bulls. The Pistons couldn't get it going, and then right when we thought that we were going to pull back into it, Zach LaVine just decided to be like, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to show up today. And then he just takes us out. I'll start with Valley. He's first on my screen here. Valley, how are we feeling about this loss to the Bulls?
This was a really difficult defeat. We led really early, but for the most part, trailed the entire time. And it was really agonizing because it seemed like we were always the runaway. Like we were coming back, we tied the game a couple of times. We came within 1 point, 2 points, 3 points every single time, but Chicago always had an answer. It seemed like they would just take a timeout, recuperate, and play the really fast offense and just get up a lot of threes. And it was just difficult for us to keep up with, I think. I have a lot of things I'm pretty upset about in this game. First and foremost, I think every single one of Nikola Vucevic's 6 threes was wide open, like with zero contest near him. I think a lot of Kobe White's threes were like that as well. I would say Kobe White hit the dagger 3 there on Jalen Duren, and it was the same thing. He cycled out to the 3-point line. Duren is hands down, 6 feet of separation minimum. And at the end of the day, that's a wide open 3 for Kobe White, who's playing some really, really good basketball this season. I'm really upset that I don't know. At first I was a little upset that Tim Hardaway was starting in his first return. However, I was like, okay, that's cool. I did not anticipate him playing 30 minutes of basketball in his first game back. On top of that, going 0 for 8 from deep, 1 for 10 from the field. He played a huge chunk of that fourth quarter in the closing stretch when Malik Beasley was just sitting on the bench. That's something I really didn't understand. And that was probably one of my most frustrating experiences from this game, that Tim Hardaway, I mean, you could see he was visibly frustrated, but I think it was too much of an ask for him to come right back, play 30 plus minutes, try to play defense, even though he didn't, and then make shots. So just too many wide open threes for Vooch and a few too many minutes for Tim Hardaway in his first game back for me. I thought we played okay offensively. We took better care of the ball. Cade had a great game. But overall, lack of being ready on defense and their fast pace lost us this game, I think.
Yeah, hard to argue with that.
I feel like that Tim Hardaway Jr. thing is kind of like a coach has got your back sort of thing, right? Like, it was tough. You got hard fall, got kneed in the back of the head by his own teammate. Tim, you're a guy, you're playing those 30. Go get him. You know, I feel like that's playing the game for 10 games from now rather than this one. Can't really hate on it.
Malik still got his 30 minutes as well. I think it's just there's no real option behind that, I think.
And then, Simone's clocking in 12 minutes today. And I feel like he's played bigger minutes in games where he struggled. But in this game, that first initial pushback when we went down big early, he was a key member to it. Hit 2 big threes, and we never really got to see him much again. I wonder if that toe is acting up for him again. But it's going to be interesting now as we get fully healthy with Asar coming back and maybe even Bobby, how this rotation is going to look. But it's nice to have the depth, though, I will say.
Yeah, getting the start back will help a lot. But any other notes on the Bulls game before we move into a little bit more of a positive take?
Bit of a rough game from J.I.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's displayed some real high-level, difficult shot making over the past week, but with
I always want to be taking those.
With high-level, difficult shot making comes games where you don't make them because they're hard shots. But yeah. We can get into the positives, like how cool that stuff is.
Hold on.
Yeah, that stuff is cool. But the way I was going to go with it was, like you mentioned, Asar Thompson has been cleared to return. And before we even get Asar Thompson back, the Pistons are top 10 in the NBA in defense. I'm going to kick it over to Gabe first because he's the most skeptical, I think, on this for sure. But Gabe, talk to us about how you feel about the Pistons being top 10 in the NBA in defense, and that's without Asar Thompson.
Yeah, I love the hands. people are going out for blocks and steals and passing lanes, and generally with like the big lineup we have, strong athletic, we're starting to stay in front of our man and be in the right position. That does not hold true for 3-pointers, as Valley was talking on, and as I've kind of like gone against you guys on this top 10 defense. Teams are missing open threes against us. Like every game I've watched, there's just so many open threes that are just not going in. Maybe today's a wake up call that you got to get out there. Everyone in the league can take threes now, and they take a lot of them. So we got to get out on those threes, especially JD, and I think especially Cade as well, who just kind of sleeps sometimes. But defensively, Ron Holland, I think, has been really good. On ball, I think Cade has been really good, and also those chase down blocks. I mean, how many like LeBron blocks has he had this week? The
Cade
one on
leads the
Bam in the
league.
Miami game, I mean, that was huge.
Yep, Cade leads the league in clutch blocks, according to, I believe it was StatMuse with 5. And that only beats out KD, who has 3. Nobody else has more than 2.
Yeah, he also had that massive one on
Şengün.
Şengün, yeah. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, we've played some crap teams recently. Charlotte, I think we're playing next. They're gonna launch up a lot of threes again. I want to see if anything changes coming off this game where we just, they were wide open the entire game. But yeah, I'm pretty, like I said, I don't think top 10 defense. I wouldn't be surprised if we go top half. I wouldn't like maybe 14th by the end of the season. I think that's about where we'll land, and that would be an amazing improvement.
Yeah, Connie, anything to add on the defense?
I think it's a little more real than what Gabe says. I think the 3-pointers, it seems like a strategy. We talked about this in the group chat a little bit, but or did we talk about this? We talked about this on the podcast. Basically, they rebound really well. They're big, athletic. They rebound really well, and they. Oh shit! What was the other thing? Oh shoot! Point is, they rebound really well. And a great part of defense is, there was a couple losses early in the season where they didn't do it, but securing a defensive rebound, ending the possession for the other team is a huge part of defense, right? Like you can play all the good defense you want, they get the board, it's not good defense. So that being a good rebounding team just kind of like bleeds right into that, and that should just continue to happen. There's no reason that would get any worse when you add a ball hawk, a pogo stick like a Star Thompson, and also I think they're just playing really hard. Like Malik Beasley, and I can't like sing this dude's praises enough. I love Malik Beasley. I feel like the Pistons have added a sort of undersized bucket getting guard so frequently over the past years, and Malik Beasley is absolutely my favorite one. Uh, the energy he plays with is contagious. And everybody's kind of getting into it, guys. I didn't really think we're good guarders. Tobias Harris, like bodies up, is like incredibly. You can say what you want about him. He's a strong player. Like he uses that on both sides, but defensively, he can stand a guy up. You guys already talked about Cade, man. That man is a defense. Like when he's locked in on somebody, he's also an absolute menace because he moves very smoothly. He's strong as all hell, and he's got long ass arms. He's a really nice defender, and I don't know. Yeah, I could see the shooting luck breaking one way, and the turnovers on the Pistons going down a little bit, stop giving up free points, and that swings the defense up in a different way. So like I think 10 might be reasonable for this team. Good offense, bad defense sort of squad. Or sorry, bad offense, good defense sort of squad.
Yeah, it's not completely out of the question. Before we go any further, while I give Valley a couple seconds to collect his thoughts on what he thinks about the team's defense, shout out to Jalen Duran. Happy 21st birthday to JD. Also nabbing 22
Hey,
points
he had a
tonight?
monster game today.
Yeah, 15 and 22 for
Aside
Jalen
from not
Duran.
playing defense.
Yeah. He put his arms up to grab the ball, just not contest shots. So we got to work on that a little bit. But
Also, just real quick while we're on him, his free throw number, is that concerning to you guys?
a little bit.
From 80% to 51% this season?
Doesn't it look less smooth?
Yeah.
It looks much more two-parted. Much more like he goes up and then flicks rather than like the smoother shooting motion he was doing last year. I am a little worried about that.
I am too. I'm actually concerned about the team's free throw numbers as a whole. I feel like we could have won at least two or three more games if we could just hit free throws. Like it's kind of getting ridiculous at this point, and that's not even touching on how like Ron Holland missed two free throws to end out that Bucks game. But like we need to hit free throws. They're free points. You can't just keep leaving points at the line like we have been, especially if we're going to be out hustled and out rebound like we have on some of these possessions. Of course, like you guys touched on the last pod, the ball does not bounce our way all the time.
Ball bounces towards who wants to get it. Pistons are 25th in free throw percentage in the NBA. Not great.
So
You know who's last? You guys will never guess who's last.
the Lakers.
Warriors.
No. What'd you say?
Warriors.
It's the Warriors.
Damn, that was my second guess.
Yeah, it's probably Kaminga who takes most of their free throws.
How is the Warriors your top guess for a team that misses free throws? Okay. Anywho,
Avoiding that tangent. Yeah. Valley, we'll skip over to you now. Your thoughts on the team's defense?
Yeah, I definitely think that defense is an identity that Bickerstaff wants to form around this team. Even before the season started, he talked about Cade being a potential like two-way threat, like an all-star threat. And I think Cade, for the most part, has lived up to that. I think what gets us is defensive lapses. I mentioned Cade. He seems to have lapses sometimes. He also like when like a lesser known person or a not known three-point shooter is shooting the ball near him, he kind of just like loves to disrespect the hell out of him and try to
Yeah.
you guys have picked that up. It works out a good amount of the time, but when it doesn't, it's a little bad.
He was having Josh Giddy have a lot of room today.
You did.
but that's the point. Like that's I think how the defense is set up. Like just like if your defense ends in a Josh Giddey three, that's a good defensive possession. Like the numbers just say so. Like you give 3-point shot. Like Vucevic has been insane this year. He's shooting 48% from three right now. But like the past couple of years, he's like high 20s, low 30. Like he's not. He's the guy you want. Like if it's a Vooch three, they could get better offense. So
If they took a Vooch three every possession that game, they would have blown us out by 100 points.
Just ISO'd him. It was ridiculous. Those post fades he was hitting in Duran's face.
yeah, those little double spin in the post. Yeah.
I think in general, like lapses are a big part of why we're struggling defensively. And it's not just Cade, it is Jalen Duran. It is his lack of will to get out to 3-point shooters, or his lack of switchability at times, I think. And same goes for guys like Tim Hardaway. Even like noticing today, like there's just so many instances where he just seems kind of uninterested in playing defense. And it's like one lapse and in this level of competition, like it's gonna put you in a bad spot no matter what. So I do think we're there defensively. I really do. And I'm with Connie. I'll make the claim that I think we will be. I'm not going to go as far as top 10, but I'll say we'll be top half in the league in defense, which is which would be a huge accomplishment for us. We've spent year after year after year being 29th in the league. I swear we've never been last. But we've just been bottom of the league.
Wizards.
Kyle Kuzma, I hate to be them, huh? To touch on your rebounding point, the Pistons are second. This is prior to tonight's game. Second in the league in total rebounds per game, defensive rebounds. First place, funny enough, is Chicago. But we really are there defensively. Our defensive rating has us at sixth. Our block numbers are pretty good. They're up at eighth in the league. We're getting a decent amount of steals as well. I am buying into this, and I think the anchor to it is Isaiah Stewart. I think that's when our defense excels the most. I still want to see him close games. We significantly struggled to close games. I think having Isaiah Stewart out there would help with that, because he just nonstop brings it. We saw him play a little bit of the four today alongside Jalen Duran towards the end of that third quarter. I would love to see that more, and I would love to see Beef Stew close games and just guard the other team's best player, especially while we're still bringing Asar back. But I think he's the key, the anchor of this defense, and he needs to be given more opportunity. I think he's getting too little of play time. He's genuinely a fantastic shot blocker, and he's always going to fight for rebounds on both ends. And if you play the two of them, so many of those Duran and Stu like just slap out rebounds where they just bat it back out to shooters, I think would really become available. So I believe the defense, and I think we'll be top half in the league in defense.
Yeah. I also think Cade is helping off way too much off of his guy, which is leading to a lot of threes. So I don't know what Cade's mentality is. Like I don't know if it is what you're saying, Connie. Maybe they put Cade on a lesser 3-point shooter in the hope that he can be a help side defender, and it's just not working out. Or if it's Cade thinking he's got to do too much and then scrambling out to the 3-point line and not getting back in time. So I want to see that kind of cleaned up a little bit. First of all, and then back to your point, Valley. You also touched on earlier and a few pods ago that you want to see more 2 threes. We got a couple of those over the last couple of games. How you feeling about those?
So fantastic. I wanted to touch on that as soon as I brought up Isaiah Stewart as well. And him in that corner, I think, could be dangerous. The two I remember him taking this season, obviously tonight, and then I think it was Toronto, just straight string music. I'm sorry, not Toronto. Who did we play yesterday?
Washington.
Yeah, I would love to see him camped out in that corner more, especially if he's at the four. Man, I don't know. I'm a huge fan of Stu's shot. I think he's not respected enough by opposition, and that's honestly something we should be looking for more. He even had a little me and Gabe were watching that game against Washington. He had shot clock down, had to face up and knock down a little midi. Like he still got that game, and I think I'm happy that we're not fully cutting it out right now and we're starting to open the door more to some Isaiah Stewart shooting.
Yeah, and he still will always have his woes of like being able to finish around the basket, and he still loses the ball sometimes and makes a little like too quick pass and it gets away. But hopefully he can clean that up. But again, we're in what year 4 or 5 of Isaiah Stewart, so we need to start seeing some more consistency out of him from the ball handling department. We'll talk to Gabe. We haven't heard from you in a while. Gabe, any thoughts on Isaiah Stewart or the defense overall?
Not really anything extra. I do have some thoughts about the in-season tournament, though.
Yeah, shoot.
Really quick on the defense.
Go ahead.
Shout out to Wendell Moore. I don't know if we're touching this later, but seriously, he comes in and he plays hard as hell on defense, and he's hit the deck a couple times diving for loose balls. Just shout out Wendell Moore, man.
I love it. I love it. Wendell Moore, shout out on the Buffs on Pod. Shout out Wendell Moore Jr. Go ahead, Gabe. Talk to us about the NBA Cup tournament.
Yeah, so we are currently first place in our group at 2-0. So we're looking good so far. We're still gonna play Indiana and Milwaukee later. So if we win those 2 games, we're officially first seed in our group. But speaking of, I mean, we were all except for Connie at that Miami game where could have had like a million heart attacks going through there. Cade was so aggravating that game. Loose turnovers, sloppy passes, just terrible, and then throws the game-winning alley-oop. Game-tying alley-oop. Eric Spoelstra had the game winner for us.
Shout out Eric Spoelstra, by the way.
Yeah, shout out him.
Thank you for not knowing how many timeouts you had. Like, we truly, truly appreciate that.
For all the stuff we've talked about, like the lapses and thing, we still had a 3-2 week against some decent. We beat one decent team. I'll say that. So they're still looking pretty good. Still playing well together. Offense clicking, defense playing well together as well, except for some sleeping. Cade, his efficiency is starting to worry me again. He's kind of getting stopped by some players here, and just like against that, like he had huge numbers against that Bucks game where Ron Holland could have won the game, but he took a lot of shots to do it. Toronto again, he kind of got stifled by length, so I hope he figures that out. But still, 3-2 week. Do we have that last year? No.
I don't recall. I don't recall, to be honest with you. I know we kind of touched on how the Pistons won back-to-back games like twice or 3 times, but I don't know if we ever had like a 3-2 week.
No, definitely.
But I will for sure take it. And going back to your bothered by length point, I think Josh Giddey bothered Cade a little bit today too. I saw him get stonewalled a couple of times. So yeah, I don't know what's going. I mean, I feel like Cade goes through ups and downs through the season too. It's just like there'll be like a good.
Okay, let's
fun.
not get crazy with these ups and downs because he had 4 triple doubles. He averaged like
yeah. I'm not getting crazy about
9 and 10 with
also,
a block and a steal per game. This man had an excellent week, and I just
I'll put it this way: the dude that was sitting in front of me at the Heat game was saying that Cade is not the guy, and then Cade turned the ball over on the next possession, and he just lost it.
Okay.
So,
You got me. If,
so I,
if the man in the stands at the Pistons game, he's got it.
he's got it. So
Um,
I mean, I had to bite my tongue for the whole 4 quarters, but yeah, Kate, I'm not.
I'm spilling a drink on that guy. I'm spilling a drink on that guy after the win.
I might have knocked him on the head with my cane on the way out. I do not recall, but yeah, it was. Let's talk about it for a second. I know Connie, you weren't there. Gabe, Valley, how did you guys feel? Like, did the atmosphere live up to what you thought an NBA Cup game in Detroit would be?
It was awesome.
Mhm.
There were a lot of Miami fans, and when they had that lead, when Tyler Hero was hitting those threes, they were chanting. But they're quickly hushed out by all the Pistons fans there.
I was gonna ask how full was it? Because I mean, I went to games last year. Obviously, haven't been one this year. Last year it was not full. But how's the stadium looking? Like when the game was rocking and you were like well into it.
I'd say it was decently full. It wasn't a packed house, but
Mm.
we were like looking to like move up all the time, and seats kept getting filled up on us.
Oh, you couldn't sneak up?
We snuck sideways a little bit. I got stopped by an usher, but Mike got me through.
Hey man, like if the Pistons are like this is something that Pistons we've been doing as Pistons fans as long as we've been going to games, right? Mind get moving up to 10, 15 rows because there's nobody in the stadium. But if you can't do that anymore, it's a good sign, huh?
It might be, but I will say Detroit fans always show out. I believe we were 15th in the NBA in attendance last year, and we were 12th the year before that. Both seasons where we did finish in the bottom of the league in the standings, but not in the bottom of the league in attendance. So Pistons fans always show out, but hopefully they have a reason to for future games. But did you guys see that the Lions are copied the Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey, uh, like celebration? Did you guys see that?
No, what's silly?
So Ivy and Duran every game before pregame just kind of jump in the air, like put their and like kind of like slap biceps basically, and the Lions copied that for one of their touchdown celebrations. So I'm loving the connectivity between all the Detroit teams. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Any Valley, what kind of thoughts did you have from the Miami game? Anything that stood out to you?
Well, yeah, the atmosphere was electric in there. Like you could definitely tell it was elevated with the NBA Cup, and I think that's only going to increase now that we're 2-0, you know, and like guys like Malik Beasley is like posting on Instagram like saying we're going to Vegas, baby. You know, I think it's infectious, and he shows that in the way he plays. Um, that was some electric atmosphere, but again, it's like overshadowed by the complete meltdown we had, giving up a 12-point lead and in about in like what 2 minutes or so. I mean, you saw me I lost my voice a little bit.
Mm,
Could not believe it. Could not believe the shots Tyler Hero was hitting. Couldn't explain the anger inside of me once the lead slipped away, and they're just going, "Let's go Heat," and I just can't think about it. You know, it was infuriating, man. But way to rally, way to bounce back. Even in overtime, it looked like we were not gonna come through, but we did. I think I was silent as a mouse throughout most of overtime. Honestly, I was just pulling my hoodie up and I could not bear to watch because I just couldn't believe it until the end when 6 players stepped on the court and I was livid. I was screaming, "That's 6 players! That's a T!" And then they didn't call a T, and then they called another timeout, and then obviously that was a T. And I swear I was one of the first people to realize they were on 0 timeouts, and I was just screaming, man. Electric atmosphere. It was really good to see. Um, can only imagine what a playoff game would be like, and I don't want to get ahead of myself and say what we did this season. But just fantastic energy in the court. And like you said, Amit, like despite this team being garbage, bottom of the league for years on years on years, the fans show out. The fans come to games. And you can really, really just like respect that from Detroit sports fans as a whole and Pistons fans. So very vibrant atmosphere. I'm gonna say it. I'm a huge fan of the NBA Cup, guys. I still don't know how everything works, but I'm a huge fan of it now that's in its second year.
Isn't it just the same? What's the mid-season cup they have in the Prem? Or in is there one?
I
No,
think
there's the domestic leagues. It's just like the Champions League.
I
But
think the WNBA had done this first, and then NBA copied it.
Wait, hold on. All they've been talking about is how they wanted to copy soccer with this thing, than having like a an early season thing.
I have no
Is that the
idea.
Champions League?
it's the Champions League. It's the domestic cups as well. But like they're all turned.
Wait, what are the domestic cups?
They're. I think that's probably the closest correlation to it. It's every single team plays one giant tournament in the country, and it's
Oh, okay. So yeah,
mid-season.
that's probably what I'm thinking about right there. So, but so the Prem does that. Yes.
Yeah, I would suppose they do it. Yeah.
What do you mean? Do they do it or do they not?
Yeah, I mean, I was just a little different in its own way, but in terms of like inclusivity and everybody gets a chance, I would say like the FA Cups is like the best way to do it.
Yeah, but then you got to include the G League teams as well.
Do it. Freaking love it.
Single
The Motor City
elimination.
Cruise
It's just a
taking out the
huge
Boston
tournament. You
Celtics.
win, you move on. You
That's
lose, you go home.
sick, actually. Get some upsets with the G League team over an NBA squad.
Throw some Euro teams in there.
The World Tournament.
Valley, who were you talking about on the ride there who plays for
Old Jaleel Okafor?
oh yeah, Jalil Okafor might make a little run.
I had a friend send me a video of like players that you may not know that are in the G League right now. And it was like Jaleel Okafor, Killian Hayes, and two other former Pistons, and I was just laughing.
Wait, I knew both of those.
Yeah, I did too. I did too, but there were two others that I'm forgetting.
Dude, hold on. Oh, would a world tournament be like every like top basketball team from every league?
Like
Obviously multiple NBAs, whatever it takes to add up to like 64 or whatever. Single elimination.
that'd be so awesome. Like that would genuinely be so freaking cool.
I would never in a million years happen.
So like soccer, they're trying to hype up now a Club World Cup. So every single team is sending over players. They do it because now there's so many players playing in Saudi Arabia, but like why can't we copy something like that? Let's get a global game going, you know?
Yeah. We can finally prove whatever what was the sprinter's name?
Oh, the American sprinter.
Noah Lyles, right?
Noah Lyles.
Oh yeah, 8-9 Team USA. Can't
Win the
forget about
tournament there, then you can say world champs.
Then you can say world champs. But getting back to Pistons talk, Valley, you mentioned Pistons playoffs is getting ahead of yourself. Is it though? We're the 5 seed in the East coming into today.
Oh,
I just had to throw it in there. Let me throw it in there. It's fine.
We're now the 6th seed, by the way.
Okay,
Still
we're still
good.
6 seed in the
still
East.
good.
We're still sitting pretty.
I
Like
brought
no
it
players.
to Gabe and Mike yesterday when we were playing some video games, and they're both pretty like, yeah. And Gabe broke down the teams that like we even included Philly and Milwaukee, teams that are below us right now that we expect realistically to finish above us, and like there's still a shot for us to get in here.
There is.
Very certainly, like if we could get a play-in game, like I would just be happy as heck, you know. But I'm more than confident that this is the core that's going to end the I believe it's the longest drought out of any major team in the United States without a playoff win, right?
Indeed, it is.
I'm a believer in this core that they can
All
win.
right. Making the playoffs and a playoff win or two. Two different
We're
things.
also debating what it would take for you to fly out. A game 7 first round. Pistons kind of would you fly from North Carolina?
Dude, I think we want to go. What's a game 7 cost? But yeah.
I mean, if we make the play-in, you got to name 5 teams in the East that'll be worse than us. We're now kind of like 15 games in. Do you guys think you have like a sight on those teams?
Yeah.
I mean, Toronto, Washington, that's a given. They're going to be worse. Brooklyn, would you guys agree?
I think is gonna throw. They traded to get their own pick this offseason, so
they're going to throw in the towel.
At some point.
And then even though they just beat us, I would say the Bulls, right?
Yeah.
And then
Charlotte?
one of Charlotte or Philly or Atlanta.
I mean, yeah, Philly's 2-11. You know.
I know that's a pretty bad start.
Like.
So I mean, we have a road there. What do you? I mean, we can look ahead to next week, but what's one thing you'd like to see a a change from this week to next week.
Making free throws.
Making free throws. Val, you were talking about Tim Hardaway starting.
Yeah, I still think he'll start, and I'm not upset about him starting. What am I looking for? More beef stew minutes, man. Less Tobias Harris minutes. Another game with 0 assists with Tobias Harris. He is a black hole. When the ball goes to him, the possession is ending in a shot attempt or a turnover. He is
Mid-range fadeaway shot
me.
attempt.
I feel like he thinks he's Blake Griffin when he came here the first time. Like he's trying to expand his bag like that. And I don't know. I appreciate the veteran leadership Tobias Harris is bringing to the team, and like Bickerstaff's spoken about how important he is to these young guys. But my
He
blood
can be
watching him play basketball.
he can be important from the bench too, can he?
Clap him on.
He can be important swinging the rock every once in a while. Yeah.
That's true. Possible. Connie, what are you looking forward to if you had to look forward to something?
I'm looking forward to a week, a WW, a week of wins. Wow.
Oh wow.
It's been weak competition. It continues to not be crazy competition. The Hornets again.
Can we
Magic.
beat Orlando? Like, where are we here? Can we beat Orlando?
I mean, without Paolo?
I would say yes.
I think it's one of those games where they're still really long and a really good elite defense. If Cade has another stinker, we're not going to.
It's a great team for the Pistons' defensive strategy of letting 3-pointers.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Let them fly.
Oh, I guess it's only 2 games this week. I guess we count the Raptors. I'm looking for a week of wins.
I mean, the week technically starts today, right? So we're already 0-1 in the week.
Okay.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say we lose 1 game.
You know, I would have said the same thing yesterday because I would have said, "Oh, the Bulls, that's a dub."
I would have said it was. I said it was a dub. I thought we were gonna go 3-1 this week with a loss to Orlando. Got ahead of myself.
Charlotte, they're always they always stick around with us.
I don't know why or how. It's just they just bother me. I hate Charlotte.
Same.
But I think we can beat them. I think after the last game we had against them, the team knows that like this is not who they are. They didn't play like who they were.
And we'll have Jalen Duren.
Yes, and we will have Jalen Duren. So I'm gonna say Charlotte's a win, and then I still feel like we can't topple Orlando. I feel like something stupid's gonna happen. Something like a travel on a buzzer beater. That ever happened against Orlando?
Yes, it did.
So yeah, I feel like we're gonna go over the next 2 games. We're gonna be 1-1.
All right.
I think we'll go 2-0.
Okay, I like it. Somebody's got
Wait.
to
3 games. Are we counting?
What's the game?
Okay. We're not counting the Raptors game. Okay.
We'll save that for next week.
We'll save that for next week. Yeah, we gotta save the wins.
Yeah, Connie and Valley will be together to watch the Toronto, Memphis, and Indiana game next week.
Oh, let's go.
Sounds awesome.
I think we're gonna need some live reactions from those games.
Yeah, we can do it like a halftime pod or something like that.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Sure.
We can go live on YouTube. We can do that now.
Yeah, we can.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Why not?
Watch it on a stream and pull up the YouTube live stream.
Yeah. And then we can all be frustrated together. It'll be amazing. All right. Any other notes to touch on about this team before we get on out of here? No? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Buffs On Podcast. Please make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe on all of our social platforms. It is to the right of the screen if you're on YouTube. If you're not, it is at Buffs_on_podcast on Instagram, at BuffsOnPod on Facebook, Buffs On Podcast on X and YouTube and TikTok, and buffsonpod@gmail.com if you're still into sending emails. But until next time, throw the Buffs on Detroit because the future, because we are the 6th seed in the East, is bright.